Okay, hello, I'm Apocalypse, the gaming guru, and today I'm going to be talking about what I believe is, or at least should be, the most important thing in the gaming community, and that is video games. Now, if you watched my previous video, you'll know that the reason that I'm doing this is because G4, a channel which is supposed to be about gaming, not only has not really talked much, at least, or at least people aren't talking about the fact that they're talking about video games. Let me just say that. That's not what they're really being known for right now. They're being known for shutting down everything, like every conversation, deleting messages, and just basically self imploding their entire company. Uh, by acting like children who can't take any sort of criticism. But that's neither here nor there. I already talked about that in my last video. So moving on. Right now, and moving on because I'm going to talk about video games. You know, like a gaming channel is supposed to do. Okay, so video games. Let's start with the basics. For all those of you who don't know, a video game is sort of like an interactive movie. If anyone didn't know that, some people might not. Some people might be looking at this and saying, "What are these video games you speak of?" So, let me explain. It starts with a controller, kind of. If you want to start with the controller, then there's also a console, kind of like a computer, or a projector, if you will. Now, that allows you to control the controller allows you to control a virtual character in a virtual world. Now, this game, if you are familiar with it, or if you are not, is Red Dead Redemption Online. A game that I and many people really enjoy. But that later. I'm sorry for that close-up of me as well. Now, video games can range from all sorts of simplicity and to graphics and everything. They can go from driving around simple simulators like Farming Simulator, a game that I love also, uh, to incredibly complex stories like the Walking Dead Telltale games. If you can't see, I got like Walking Dead poster. Well, those are actually calendars. Those two right there. Well, actually, they're all calendars. Those two right there are both Walking Dead calendars. And I had them up 2 years, if you can do math and understand how calendars work. So, the point is that video games have a wide variety of genres and abilities that your character can have. There's a massive world to explore. It's a great mode of entertainment. It's a great form of entertainment. That's the word. One day I'll get an editor, or at least editing software, and these videos might be more streamlined. I might not have the patience. I might not be able to be bothered with it. Anyway, what I usually... Okay, moving on. How to define a good game from a bad game. Now, this can come down to personal preferences. You might like side scrollers, which is where you're looking at the screen and you just see the dude going along, just hopping on the side of the screen. You only see the side, only profile, like Mario, like the old Lion King game, like a bunch of other old games. And then you can go from tabletop games where you're looking down on it, like a lot of other ones. Not really sure. I don't play a whole lot of tabletop games. There was one called 12 Minutes. That was pretty good. It's free on Game Pass. Highly recommend it. I'll do a video about it one day. It's a short video because it's a pretty short game. Anyway, and you can have large mainstream titles and indie games. Love indie games. Played a lot of really short ones. Anyway, so what I usually use, there are like three basic criteria that I use to determine what is a good game and what is a bad game, or at least what's a good game. Now, these criteria are graphics, gameplay, and story. Graphics is pretty basic. What does the game look like? And that doesn't just mean how realistic does it look. It's also, what is it trying to go for? Like I mentioned, the Walking Dead Telltale games. I love those games. But their graphics aren't necessarily going for a realistic look. They're going for comic book. They're going for that kind of look. So what are they accomplishing, the style that they're setting out to achieve? If that is how you would say that. Now, gameplay. That is not just... also with graphics, glitches, graphical errors, rendering. Does it render well? Rendering is when you can see something come up on the screen. And I would like to show you with Red Dead, but Red Dead has some really good rendering. It's got really good render distance. So anyway, basically rendering is when things come into the world, because if you've ever watched, video games are kind of like that, they work like that episode of Rick and Morty, if you've ever seen, where they get stuck in the simulation. The games work like a treadmill, or at least most games do. They work on like a treadmill, creating the world in front of you and destroying it in the back, or yeah, whatever. So rendering is how quickly things come up and how quickly the world can create it. Cyberpunk 2077 has a really bad rendering when you come, even like especially at fast speeds. Like when you're going really like just hauling in the car, I have hit things at least 5 seconds before I saw them. Imagine that. Smack! That was weirdly timed. Smack! 1, 2, what did I hit? 4, 5. A car? What was this car? That's how it works in Cyberpunk 2077. But I still actually do like that game. I played it twice. I intend to play it a third time someday. When I get around to it, I loop back around with games. But yeah, I actually do like Cyberpunk 2077. A very rare viewpoint to find. I'll do a video to talk about that some other time. But anyway, so that's graphics. Does it render well? You know, again, glitches. Do things disappear? Like, you know, graphical errors, graphical glitches. Then move on to gameplay. And gameplay isn't just how the character moves. You know, it's how the character moves and what the buttons do. Not just that, but like, is it easy to use these buttons? Are these things easy? You know, for instance, to bring up your weapon wheel in here, it's as simple as going like this, and you can switch up things, you know, look around. Is it easy to use? Is it, you know, are people going to figure it out quickly, or eventually at least? Is it, you know, and like I said, what can your character do? Now again, this can vary with game to game, you know. For instance, Red Dead Redemption. You can ride a horse, you can shoot a gun, you can lasso stuff, fish, you can do all this cool stuff. But when you look at that, like, you can do essentially the same things in Skyrim. You can fire a bow, you can hunt, you can fish. Now you can fish, you know. You can ride a horse. But in Skyrim, you can also throw fireballs, shoot lightning, make potions. Okay, you can make potions in here too. You can cook, you can make tonics and stuff, you know? But it's not to say that Skyrim is a better game than Red Dead Redemption. People could say that. I mean, that's the thing. That's another thing that it comes to when judging games. You can't just say that one game is better than the other when they're completely different genres. You know, it'd be like, it's the same way I feel it, though, at least. The same way with movies. But anyway, and it also, again, it comes down to your personal preference. Do you like Westerns or not? Not everybody likes Westerns. I think everybody should. There's nothing wrong with Westerns. but yeah. Line. Right, gameplay. Okay. So, and the Walking Dead games, again, you're basically relegated to just, if that's the right word, to just walking around and like picking things up and talking to people. You can't really do any, like, you can't even run, or you can't jump. You can't really do anything in the Walking Dead Telltale games. But those are easily some of my those are easily some of my favorite games. Of all time. I cry at the end of every single one of them. Even when I'm replaying them. I'm not ashamed to say that. But that's where we get into story. The story of a video game. And this is basic stuff. It's basically the same thing that you would find, same criteria you would use for a movie or a book or a TV show. Are events happening logically? Now, in certain video games, certain things can happen where, like, things will happen just to facilitate a mission. They'll happen just so that you can do a mission. Especially when it comes to movie adaptations for video games. So when it analyzes the story of a video game, you can't always be super critical, I suppose you would say, because it's a game at its core. Like, what I mean to say by this is that just because a game doesn't necessarily have a good story doesn't mean, or a logical story, an interesting story, doesn't mean that it's a bad game. For instance, Castlevania, Lord of Shadows 2, probably need a shorter line. That story, I love that game, and I'm upset because something's wrong with my account. I can't play Xbox 360 games, which is really annoying, because as I said, I'm replaying Red Dead 2, and I'm playing Red Dead Online and stuff, because my friend just got Red Dead Online, which is why I was upset that G4 didn't talk about it, because, come on, save Red Dead Online. We need more stuff on here. Anyway, so my point is that, if I could remember what... Right, Castlevania Lord of Shadows 2. I love that game. But I couldn't really tell you anything about the story of it. Something about he fell asleep for a long time. I don't know. Couldn't tell you much about the story, but I love that game. Because the gameplay is awesome. The fighting, you're Dracula. Like, it is just amazing. It's a fun game. And this is where the graphics, the gameplay, and the story when using those criteria come in. Like, how you really put those, like, using those into play, how you really criticize a video game. Because you can't say it's a terrible game because it's had a stupid story if it was still fun to play. If it's still fun to play, and I still love to, like, I wanted to replay it because I was watching Castlevania. What better game to play while watching Castlevania? Well, I love to play games on my TV and watch stuff on my phone. I'll have it playing at the same time. Like for instance, lately I've been watching westerns. I'm watching the Dollars trilogy right now. I watched McClintock last night for the first time. They're both free on YouTube as well. I think if you go to my channel, I got a bunch of playlists and stuff. If you go to movies, I've got a bunch of free movies in there that are free with ads on YouTube. Some of them are actually just no ad, well, fewer ads. But yeah, the Dollars trilogy is there, McClintock, a bunch of other westerns and stuff. So, I love to have them playing while I'm doing that. So go check that out, look them up while you're playing Red Dead Online. I love to do that. You might too. So anyway, when you're applying this criteria to a game, you can't, it's what are they going for? What are they trying to do? Are they focusing on story or are they focusing on gameplay? For instance, a game I played not too long ago called Lake. It's free on Game Pass right now. It's about this woman in the 80s who her parents are going out of town, so she's got to go back to her little small town USA and cover for her dad as the mail carrier. And so it's thrilling stuff, The game is literally you drive around delivering mail, and that facilitates conversations with people. Like I said, small town USA. You bring them a package, hey, you start talking to them. It's all like dialogue choices, and it's like, hey, am I gonna go out with the lumberjack or the cute girl from the video store? And it's literally just like I beat it in a day. Great game, loved it. You spend most of your time driving around in a mail truck delivering mail, which is hilarious for me because my mom is a mail carrier. And I played this game on Sunday, which is funny. Anyway, so the point is that just because you can't leap around and shoot fireballs and stuff, doesn't mean that it isn't a great game. And just because it doesn't have a logical story that you can follow, a linear progression of cause to effect, but doesn't mean that it's a bad game. And just because this is going to be a big one, for Cyberpunk 20, this is going to be a controversial one. For Cyberpunk 2077, at least for me, just because a game has a lot of graphical bugs and stuff doesn't mean it's a bad game, For Cyberpunk 27, like I said, I love that game. Keanu, you're kidding me? It's great because it has an amazing gameplay and story. So yeah, it's got a lot of bugs. It can be irritating to play at times, but all it takes is some patience, which, yeah, I'm not big on either. I don't think a whole lot of gamers are known for their patience, but all it takes is just a second to just, okay, all right. I have a friend who I play Red Dead Online with, and he'll always be on his mic like, "Hey, this isn't working." Oh, okay, never mind. He won't be mad or anything. He calm person. Anyway, the point is that it's like a scale, except there are 3, so it's kind of like juggling, but not really. The point is that you can't, say that a game is very bad or good. So that's just how I judge games and how I look at how I try and figure out what's a good game and what's a bad game. And for me, you may have noticed there's a lot of games that I really enjoy. I'm trying to think of a game that I actually didn't like and was just like, no, I don't like this. There was one game. Man, it's gonna get rich. I didn't really care much for Dark Souls. I think it was Dark Souls 2. I was still getting used to, it's because I was still getting used to, I was still kind of getting into RPGs. Like I'd played. It wasn't until later that I got into RPGs, like with Fallout 3. Love that game. Liam Neeson. But 10 New Vegas, Fallout got me into it, and Skyrim, like I mentioned that before, love that game. But it wasn't really, I mean, and those, that's where I started to learn how to like build a character. And then it wasn't until The Witcher that I really started to be able to like look in depth. And then ever since I played The Witcher, now it's like anytime I get into a game, I know how to like build the character. Like even with the ability cards on Red Dead, like I just like know how to like look ahead. It's very simple stuff. I'm saying it like it's like, oh, I know how to do this now. Like no, it's super simple stuff. All you have to do is like look at what the abilities are for everything, and like then figure out which ones work best together. Super easy, you know. But when I was younger, I would just like get cool stuff. For instance, the first time I played The Witcher, I didn't do tonics at all because I thought Quen was really cool. And like, if you don't know, Quen is this ability you can put up a shield around you, or when you upgrade it, you can hold up and put a shield around you. But at start, it's just a quick shield, blocks a hit. That's all it is. And my magic and my attacks. I had like heavy attacks and light attacks all the way done up and stuff. So I had it all in combat and magic. Didn't have any tonics upgraded, or is that what it is? Tonics, toxin, potions. I didn't do any of that. Didn't do any alchemy. And I got all the way, anyone who's like, oh, you didn't get far. I got all the way through the main game, no problems. I was defeating everybody. I had the Griffin armor, went all the way past Hearts of Stone, went all the way to the very end of Blood and Wine, the final fight. I don't want to spoil who it is, even though it's an old game. People might not have played it. I don't like to spoil stuff for games, or anything, even no matter how old they are. Because I just watched McClintock for the first time last night, so you never know. But anyway, if you don't know, McClintock is an old Western starring, oh my God, John Wayne. John Wayne. And it's also the first John Wayne movie I've ever seen. So there you go, That's why I don't like to spoil things for people. But speaking of spoilers, what was I talking about? The Witcher. I was talking about The Witcher. Okay. So, and just so you know, I'm not really editing this out. Like I said, I don't have it editing. I'm just pausing recording, then starting it up again. So, okay. The Witcher. I got all the way to the final fight at the end of The Witcher, and I couldn't do it. Not only could I not do it, I was completely obliterated. He was like one hit, two hitting me. Like one hit, two hit kills. Done. And I've beaten people like that. Like, there was one contract. The first big fight that I had with like a monster, like a high level monster, because I was a low level, and I was like, okay, let's go for some tough stuff. And I went for like a high level one that was way higher level than me. I was like level 8, and it was like level 30. It was the creature from Oxenfurt Forest, Openicus, the Arch Griffin, or Royal Griffin, or whatever. I will never forget that fight. Because one, I couldn't beat him at first. I was completely obliterated. I had to like wait till I was like level 10 or 12 or something. I fought him for probably an hour and a half. Not even kidding. Just sitting there getting killed in one hit. One hit if I didn't have my Quen up. That's what I'm talking about when I say that's when I really got into RPGs and understanding timing and bosses and how they worked, because I'd never fought against like an actual boss. The Witcher's the first game that I ever played where I fought against like an actual boss with like, I forget the word, timing and moves. Oh, anyone who wants to know more about that, there's an anime called Log Horizon where a bunch of people get trapped in a massive multiplayer online. They get trapped in an MMO RPG, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. and it's great. They get stuck in there and they gotta like figure out how to like live in this game world and stuff. And they have aspects of the game world and like a real world sort of bleeding in together. Great game, love it. This, what was it? The second season and third season, I feel like the first season was the best one. But anyway, my point is that that's when it wasn't until I played The Witcher that I really started understanding how to play games like that. And it's very fun. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Red Dead Online in probably my next video, because this video has gone on a lot longer than I wanted it to. So I'll just do my next video. I might make it right now after this. Actually, I probably will. I got nothing better to do. But this video, my nice little overview of video games. I go off on a little bit of tangents. I do that a lot. But so anyway, if you like this video and you want more content like this, please like, subscribe. If you didn't like this, tell me why. Go into the comments. I'm not blocking anyone. I'm not deleting messages. I don't even know if I can do that on here. But yeah, I wouldn't even know how to moderate that stuff. I'm doing this on my phone. But so yeah, if you didn't like it, tell me why, or don't, or just, if you, how about this? If you don't like my content, tell me why, let's have a discussion. Tell me how I can improve, okay. So again, like, subscribe, share, whatever. Thank you.